Stop worrying about outcomes that have not yet arrived. Stop surrendering your peace to shadows that only exist in imagination. Most people spend their lives fearing tomorrow, while unknowingly creating the very conditions they fear. They rehearse failure in their minds, repeat stories of limitation, and expect disappointment before life even has a chance to unfold. Then they wonder why the world continues to mirror uncertainty back to them. But there is another way to live. Imagine waking up every morning with the quiet certainty that life is already arranging itself for your highest good. Imagine walking through your day with the calm confidence that every delay, every conversation, every closed door, and every unexpected turn is secretly leading you toward something greater. This single shift changes everything. The moment you assume life is working in your favor, your inner world begins to transform, and your outer world has no choice but to follow. Your mind is not merely observing reality, it is participating in its creation. What you consistently accept as true becomes the atmosphere of your life. If you assume struggle, you notice struggle everywhere. If you assume rejection, every silence feels personal. If you assume things never work out, your mind searches for proof to support that belief. But when you begin assuming that life supports you, opportunities appear where fear once stood. The same world looks different because you are seeing it through a different state of consciousness. Worry is simply faith in disaster. It is the habit of imagining negative outcomes and emotionally living inside them before they happen. The mind does not always distinguish between imagination and reality. When you repeatedly imagine loss, failure, embarrassment, or hardship, your body reacts as though those events are already taking place. You drain your energy fighting invisible battles. You suffer twice, once in imagination and once perhaps in reality. Now imagine reversing that process. Instead of asking, what if everything goes wrong? Begin asking, what if everything is unfolding perfectly for me? What if this delay is protecting you? What if this challenge is preparing you? What if this uncertainty is guiding you toward a life far better than the one you planned? The moment you adopt this assumption, anxiety begins to loosen its grip because your mind is free, no longer trapped in resistance. The truth is, many of the things you once worried about never happened. And even when difficulties came, you survived them. You adapted. You grew stronger. Life carried you through moments you thought would break you. So why continue living as though the future is your enemy? Why approach each day expecting hardship when you can approach it expecting favor? Assume the phone call will bring good news. Assume the meeting will go well. Assume the opportunity is already yours. Assume the universe is moving pieces behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet understand. This is not denial of reality. It is the deliberate choice to align your inner world with possibility instead of fear. There is a powerful calm that enters your life when you stop trying to force every outcome. You begin to trust timing. You stop panicking when things seem uncertain. You understand that not every unanswered question requires immediate fear. Some things are being arranged beyond your current vision. Seeds grow underground long before they appear above the surface. In the same way, your desires may already be taking shape in unseen ways. People often think peace comes after the tree. You receive what they want, but true peace comes before. Peace is the state that attracts favorable conditions. Desperation pushes things away. Fear clouds judgment. Worry weakens your ability to recognize opportunities, but confidence opens the mind. Trust sharpens awareness. Expectation changes behavior. When you assume everything is working in your favor, you walk differently. You speak differently. You make decisions differently. You stop begging life for permission to feel secure. You begin carrying security within yourself. And strangely enough, life begins reflecting that certainty back to you. Think about how much energy is wasted on fear every single day. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of losing money, fear of being judged, fear of the unknown. Most of these fears are stories, not facts. Yet people cling to them as though they are inevitable truths. Imagine reclaiming that energy and using it instead to imagine success, peace, love, abundance, and fulfillment. Your imagination is one of the greatest gifts you possess. Use it wisely. Do not use it to create prisons of anxiety. Use it to create visions of possibility. See yourself already becoming the person you wish to be. Feel the relief of knowing things are improving. Feel the gratitude of already receiving what you once prayed for. The emotional state you occupy consistently becomes the magnetic force shaping your experience. There will still be moments when doubt appears. That is part of being human. But you do not have to live inside doubt. You can observe it without surrendering to it. Every time fear whispers that something will go wrong, gently remind yourself, everything is unfolding in my favor. Repeat it until it begins to feel natural. Repeat it until your nervous system relaxes. Repeat it until faith becomes stronger than fear. Life responds to the assumptions you nourish daily. If you continuously expect obstacles, you will find them. If you continuously expect support, guidance, solutions, and growth, you will begin noticing evidence of those things everywhere. The outer world is often echoing the inner conversation you hold with yourself. So stop worrying as though fear has the authority to predict your future. Stop imagining endings before the story has even unfolded. Trust that there are forces moving in your favor even when you cannot yet see them. Trust that every experience, science can become part of your growth. Trust that what belongs to you cannot miss you. The future does not need your fear. It needs your faith. It needs your expectation. It needs your willingness to believe that life is not happening against you but for you. The moment you truly accept this, you step into a different reality, one where peace replaces panic, confidence replaces doubt, and possibility replaces fear. And perhaps the greatest secret of all is this: when you finally stop worrying and start assuming the best, you become the kind of person who naturally attracts better outcomes. Worry is one of the most misunderstood habits of the human mind. People often treat it as responsibility. They believe that if they worry enough, they are somehow preparing themselves for life. They think anxiety keeps them alert, protects them from disappointment, or prevents failure from arriving unexpectedly. But worry has never prevented pain. It has only multiplied it. Worry is not wisdom. It is misplaced faith. It is the continuous expectation that something bad is about to happen. Think about it carefully. Every time you worry, you are imagining a future you do not want. You are mentally rehearsing failure, rejection, loss, embarrassment, or struggle. You are giving emotional energy to events that have not happened. In that moment, your imagination becomes a theater of fear. The mind begins creating scenes of disaster, and the body reacts as though those scenes are already real. Your heart beats faster, your chest tightens, your peace disappears. All because you believed in an imagined negative outcome strongly enough to emotionally experience it before it arrived. That is why worry is faith in reverse. Faith is believing in something unseen. Most people think of faith only in positive terms, but fear operates by the exact same principle. Fear is believing in unseen problems. Worry is trusting that things will go wrong before there is evidence they will. It is using the creative power of the mind against yourself. Imagine two people walking into the same situation. One assumes failure. The other assumes success. The first person spends days imagining embarrassment, mistakes, rejection, and disappointment. The second person imagines things flowing naturally, opportunities appearing and favorable outcomes unfolding. Both are using imagination. Both are exercising faith. But one is placing faith in fear, while the other is placing faith in possibility. Most people never realize how much their inner conversations influence their emotional state. They wake up expecting problems. They anticipate delays before leaving the house. They expect rejection before speaking. They expect bad news before checking messages. Without noticing it, they train their minds to search constantly for evidence that life is difficult. Then when small problems appear, they say, "I knew it." But what they call intuition is often just prolonged expectation. The mind is powerful because it constantly moves in the direction of dominant belief. If you repeatedly feed it fearful images, it begins organizing your perception around those fears. You notice obstacles more quickly than opportunities. You become tense during uncertainty. You interpret neutral events negatively. A delayed response feels like rejection. A challenge feels like defeat. A temporary setback feels permanent. Worry magnifies everything because it teaches the mind to expect darkness. But the beautiful truth is that the same power can work in your favor. The moment you understand that worry is simply not Negative faith, you also realize you can redirect that faith. You can consciously choose a different expectation. Instead of imagining what could go wrong, you can begin imagining what could go right. Instead of preparing for humiliation, you can prepare for success. Instead of expecting abandonment, you can expect support. The mind does not stop creating scenarios, it simply creates according to the direction you give it. This does not mean pretending challenges do not exist. Life will still contain uncertainty. There will still be moments you cannot control. But there is a huge difference between acknowledging uncertainty and emotionally surrendering to fear. One keeps you grounded. The other drains your spirit. Many of the worst things people worry about never actually happen. Yet they suffer as though they already did. They lose sleep over conversations that never occur. They carry anxiety over situations that resolve peacefully. They waste entire days fearing outcomes that never arrive. Imagine how much life is stolen by imaginary suffering. Imagine how much joy disappears because the mind refuses to trust the possibility of good. And even when difficulties do appear, worry rarely improves them. Fear clouds judgment. Panic weakens clarity. Anxiety steals the ability to think creatively and respond calmly. A peaceful mind sees solutions faster than a fearful one. A trusting heart makes wiser decisions than a desperate one. That is why inner calm is not weakness. It is power. There is something transformative about deciding that life may actually support you. The moment you stop assuming disaster, your nervous system begins to relax. You breathe differently. You think differently. You stop carrying the emotional weight of imaginary futures. You become more present, more aware, more open to opportunities that fear once blinded you from seeing. Trust does not mean you will never face challenges. It means you no longer worship fear while facing them. It means you understand that your imagination was never meant to be used as a weapon against yourself. It was meant to create vision, hope, direction, and possibility. Every day you are exercising faith in something. The question is, what are you believing in? Are you believing in failure before it happens? Are you trusting fear more than possibility? Or are you willing to believe that things can unfold beautifully even when you cannot yet see how? Your future is deeply influenced by the emotional atmosphere you repeatedly live in. Worry creates heaviness. Trust creates openness. Fear contracts the spirit. Expectation expands it. And the more you choose trust over fear, the more your life begins reflecting that inner shift back to you. So the next time worry enters your mind, pause and recognize what it truly is. It is not prophecy. It is not preparation. It is simply faith directed toward negative outcomes. Then gently redirect that energy. Choose to believe in solutions instead of problems. Choose to expect guidance instead of disaster. Choose to trust that life can work in your favor. Because the same mind that can imagine fear can also imagine freedom. And the moment you stop feeding worry, you create space for peace to finally enter your life. Your assumptions are quietly shaping your reality every single day, whether you realize it or not. Long before circumstances appear in the outer world, they often begin as accepted beliefs within the mind. The life a person experiences is deeply connected to the story they repeatedly tell themselves. What you assume to be true influences. CES how you think, how you feel, how you act, and ultimately what you attract into your experience. Most people move through life completely unaware of this invisible process. They believe reality is something fixed and external, something happening independently of their inner world. But if you observe closely, you will notice that two people can walk through the same situation and experience it in completely different ways. One sees opportunity while another sees failure. One expects kindness while another expects rejection. One remains calm during uncertainty while another immediately falls into fear. The difference is not always the circumstance itself. The difference is the assumption each person carries within. An assumption is more powerful than a passing thought. Thoughts come and go constantly, but assumptions settle deeper. They become mental positions you unconsciously accept as truth. Once accepted, they begin filtering your perception of reality. If someone assumes they are unlucky, they notice every inconvenience and overlook every blessing. If someone assumes people cannot be trusted, they interpret even harmless situations with suspicion. If someone assumes success is difficult, They approach opportunities with hesitation and fear. Eventually, life begins reflecting those expectations back to them. The mind is always searching for evidence to support what it already believes. This is why assumptions become self-reinforcing. A person who assumes failure notices every mistake while ignoring signs of progress. A person who assumes they are unworthy interprets silence as rejection and criticism as proof of inadequacy. Without realizing it, they shape their emotional world around beliefs they accepted long ago. But the same principle works positively as well. When you begin assuming that life supports you, your entire experience changes. You become more open to possibilities. You notice opportunities you once ignored. You interpret delays differently. You stop seeing every obstacle as a personal attack. Instead of constantly preparing for disappointment, you begin expecting things to unfold in your favor. This expectation changes your energy, your decisions, your confidence, and the way you interact with the world. Think about how differently you behave when you expect success compared to when you expect failure. When you assume things will go wrong, you hesitate. You overthink. You speak with uncertainty. Your actions become cautious and fearful. But when you assume things will work out, you move with greater confidence. You take opportunities more naturally. You remain calmer under pressure. You become emotionally aligned with the outcome you desire. This is why assumptions are so important. They are not passive ideas hidden in the background of the mind. They actively influence your behavior and perception every moment of the day. And because behavior influences outcomes, assumptions quietly participate in creating the very reality you experience. Many people unknowingly imprison themselves through negative assumptions formed years earlier. Perhaps they experienced rejection once and assumed they would always be rejected. Perhaps they struggled financially and assumed abundance was only for others. Perhaps they failed in the past and concluded they were incapable of success. Over time, these assumptions became identities rather than temporary experiences. But no assumption is permanent unless you continue feeding it. The moment you become aware of your inner assumptions, you gain the power to change them. You no longer have to accept every fearful thought as truth. You can consciously choose a different belief about yourself and your future. You can begin assuming that opportunities are available to you. You can assume that you are capable, valuable, loved, supported, and guided. You can assume that life is unfolding in ways that benefit your growth and happiness. At first, the mind may resist these new assumptions because it is accustomed to old patterns. Fear may argue against them. Doubt may question them. But repetition strengthens belief. What you consistently return to begins feeling natural over time. Just as negative assumptions were learned through repetition, positive assumptions can also be cultivated through repetition. This is why your inner dialogue matters so much. Every day you are reinforcing assumptions about yourself and the world. Every sentence you repeat internally carries creative influence. When you constantly say, "Nothing ever works out for me," you strengthen limitation. When you repeatedly affirm, "Things are always improving for me," you begin building a new emotional foundation. The outer world often mirrors the emotional atmosphere within you. People who to expect hostility often encounter conflict because their energy becomes defensive and tense. People who expect goodness often create warmer interactions because they approach life openly. The assumption becomes the lens through which reality is interpreted. There is incredible freedom in realizing that you are not trapped by your current circumstances. Your present reality may reflect old assumptions, but your future can reflect new ones. Change begins internally before it becomes visible externally. The moment you shift your dominant assumptions, you begin shifting the direction of your life. Imagine waking up each day assuming that things are aligning for your benefit. Imagine approaching challenges with the belief that solutions already exist. Imagine walking into conversations expecting respect, entering opportunities expecting success, and facing uncertainty with calm trust instead of fear. This inner shift changes not only how you feel, but how you live. Your assumptions shape your reality because they shape you first. They influence the way you think, speak, act, and respond. They affect your confidence, your relationships, your decisions, and your expectations. The world. Your experience is deeply connected to the beliefs you repeatedly accept as true. So choose your assumptions carefully. Do not build your life around fear, limitation, or doubt. Build it around possibility, trust, abundance, and peace. Assume that you are capable of more than you have imagined. Assume that life can surprise you in beautiful ways. Assume that what you desire is already moving toward you. Because the assumptions you nurture today are quietly becoming the reality you live tomorrow. Most people spend their lives believing that peace is the reward they will finally receive after everything goes their way. They tell themselves, once I have more money, then I will relax. Once the relationship improves, then I will feel secure. Once success arrives, then I will be happy. Once the problem disappears, then I will finally have peace. In this way, peace becomes something distant, conditional, and dependent upon external circumstances. But this way of living keeps the mind trapped in endless waiting, because life will always present another challenge, another uncertainty, another reason to postpone inner calm. The truth is the opposite of what most people believe. Peace do. S not come after manifestation. Peace comes before it. The emotional state you consistently live in becomes the foundation from which your outer experiences grow. A restless mind creates resistance. A fearful heart clouds clarity. Anxiety scatters energy. But peace aligns the mind, emotions, and actions into harmony. It creates the inner environment where better outcomes naturally begin to unfold. Look at how differently people behave when they are desperate compared to when they are calm. Desperation pushes, chases, fears, and clings. It constantly asks, what if this doesn't happen? It seeks reassurance every moment because it does not trust life. In desperation, people make rushed decisions. They overreact to small problems. They become emotionally exhausted because they are trying to force reality into submission. But peace operates differently. Peace trusts timing. Peace understands that not everything must be controlled immediately. Peace allows space for life to unfold naturally. When a person is peaceful, they think more clearly. They speak with greater confidence. They recognize opportunities more easily because fear is no longer clouding their perception. Peace changes. 3. The energy behind every action. It transforms the way you enter conversations, relationships, opportunities, and challenges. A calm person carries a quiet power because they are no longer being controlled by panic. Many people unknowingly block their own desires because they approach life from a state of fear and lack. They want success, but deep inside they feel insecure. They want love, but internally they fear abandonment. They want abundance, but constantly worry about losing what they have. Their outer desire is contradicted by their inner emotional state. The mind sends mixed signals because one part is hoping while another part is doubting. Peace resolves this inner conflict. When you become peaceful before receiving what you want, you are no longer emotionally dependent on external validation. You stop begging reality to prove your worth. You stop treating every delay as a sign of failure. Instead, you begin trusting that what belongs to you will arrive at the right time. This trust creates emotional stability, and emotional stability changes how you interact with life. Think about how nature works. A seed planted in the ground does not panic because it cannot yet see. The tree. It does not dig itself up every day searching for evidence of growth. It rests in trust while unseen processes take place beneath the surface. In the same way, many things in life are developing long before visible results appear. But people destroy their peace because they expect immediate proof for everything. They become anxious during the unseen phase of growth. Peace allows you to remain steady during uncertainty. It allows you to continue believing even when results are not immediately visible. This is powerful because life often responds not only to your actions, but to the emotional state behind those actions. Fear creates tension. Trust creates flow. Worry closes the mind. Peace opens it. There is also something deeply attractive about inner calm. People are naturally drawn toward those who carry peace because peace feels safe. A peaceful person does not constantly seek approval. They are not controlled by emotional chaos. They radiate stability. This changes relationships, opportunities, and interactions in profound ways. Peace itself becomes magnetic. The world often teaches people to chase endlessly, but chasing usually comes from the belief that something important is missing. Peace reminds you that your value does not depend on immediate outcomes. It allows you to pursue goals without emotionally collapsing when obstacles appear. You stop seeing temporary setbacks as permanent defeats. You stop interpreting delays as rejection from life itself. This does not mean becoming passive or careless. Peace is not laziness. Peace is inner certainty without panic. It is moving toward your goals without fear consuming your spirit. It is taking action while remaining emotionally grounded. It is understanding that your future is not improved by constant worry. Some of the greatest breakthroughs happen when people finally release their desperate attachment to outcomes. The moment they relax internally, solutions appear, clarity emerges. Opportunities arrive unexpectedly. Why? Because peace creates openness. A fearful mind is too busy fighting imaginary disasters to recognize possibilities standing directly in front of it. Your emotional state is not separate from your manifestations. It is part of the process itself. If your inner world is filled with fear, doubt, and tension, that energy affects your decisions, your relationships, and your peace. 3. Reception. But when your inner world becomes peaceful, you begin acting from confidence rather than insecurity. Life starts responding differently because you are responding differently. Peace is not something you wait to earn after life becomes perfect. Peace is the state that helps create a better life. It is the foundation beneath clarity, wisdom, patience, confidence, and trust. It allows you to move through uncertainty without losing yourself. So stop postponing peace until every problem disappears. Stop telling yourself you will relax once everything works out. Choose peace now. Choose trust now. Choose calm now. Let your heart settle before the evidence arrives. Because the person who finds peace before manifestation often becomes the person who naturally attracts the very things they once struggled to obtain. What you consistently imagine and feel does not remain trapped inside your mind. It slowly begins shaping the reality you experience. Every thought charged with emotion leaves an impression upon your inner world, and over time those impressions influence your behavior, perception, decisions, and energy. Most people underestimate the power of imagination because they think it is only fantasy, something disconnected from real life. But imagination is often the blueprint from which reality begins to form. Think about how much of your day is guided by invisible mental pictures. Before you speak, you imagine possible reactions. Before taking action, you picture potential outcomes. Before entering a situation, your mind often rehearses what might happen. These inner images create emotional responses, and those emotions influence how you move through life. A person who constantly imagines failure feels nervous and uncertain. A person who consistently imagines success begins acting with confidence and expectation. The imagination is not passive. It actively influences your emotional state, and your emotional state affects the reality you create around yourself. Many people unknowingly use their imagination against themselves. They replay painful memories repeatedly. They imagine worst-case scenarios before they happen. They create mental movies filled with rejection, embarrassment, struggle, and disappointment. Even when nothing negative is occurring in the present moment, their mind remains occupied with fearful possibilities. Over time, these emotions, neuronal patterns become familiar. The body begins living in tension because the mind is constantly feeding it fearful images. The mind and emotions work together powerfully. Whatever you repeatedly imagine with emotional intensity begins feeling real to your subconscious. This is why fear can feel so convincing even when no actual danger exists. The body reacts to imagined situations almost as strongly as real ones, because emotions create internal experiences that shape perception and behavior. But this same principle can transform your life when used consciously. Imagine what happens when you begin consistently imagining positive outcomes instead. Imagine seeing yourself succeeding before the opportunity arrives. Imagine feeling gratitude before receiving the blessing. Imagine experiencing peace before external circumstances fully change. The emotional state created by these images begins influencing your energy, your confidence, and your actions. You start moving differently because your inner world is no longer dominated by fear. What you feel repeatedly becomes part of your identity. If you constantly feel unworthy, you unconsciously behave in ways that reflect insecurity. If you consistently feel powerless, you hesitate to pursue opportunities. But if you begin feeling capable, supported, and deserving, your actions naturally begin aligning with those emotions. This is why inner transformation often precedes outer transformation. Most people wait for the outer world to change before allowing themselves to feel differently. They say, I will feel confident once I succeed. I will feel peaceful once the problem disappears. I will feel abundant once I have more money. But emotions are not merely reactions to reality. They are also creative forces shaping it. The emotional atmosphere you repeatedly live in influences what you notice, how you respond, and what possibilities you allow yourself to believe in. Consider someone who constantly imagines rejection. Even in neutral situations, they may interpret silence negatively, hesitate to express themselves, or avoid opportunities altogether. Their imagination influences their behavior, and their behavior influences their results. On the other hand, someone who imagines acceptance and success approaches life more openly. They take chances, communicate more confidently, and remain resilient when challenges arise. 3. Pair. Their inner assumptions create different outer experiences. This is why it is so important to guard your imagination carefully. Every day your mind is planting emotional seeds. Some seeds grow into confidence, creativity, and peace. Others grow into anxiety, limitation, and fear. The question is not whether your imagination is affecting your life. The question is whether you are using it consciously or unconsciously. The feelings you repeatedly entertain become emotional habits, and emotional habits shape the lens through which you experience reality. If you spend years feeling defeated, hopelessness begins feeling normal. But if you practice gratitude, trust, and expectation consistently, those emotions gradually become natural as well. The inner world adapts according to what it experiences repeatedly. There is tremendous power in emotionally aligning yourself with the life you desire before physical evidence appears. This does not mean pretending problems do not exist. It means refusing to emotionally surrender to them. It means choosing to cultivate inner states that support growth instead of fear. When you imagine a better future with genuine feeling, you are training. 3. Give your mind to expect possibility rather than limitation. Athletes understand this principle when they mentally rehearse success before competition. Speakers visualize successful presentations before stepping on stage. Great creators often imagine their achievements long before they become visible in the world. The mind responds strongly to vivid emotional imagery because imagination prepares the nervous system for action. Your outer world often reflects your dominant inner patterns over time. A fearful mind creates hesitation. A confident mind creates momentum. A grateful heart notices abundance more easily. A peaceful spirit responds to challenges with greater clarity. The emotions you repeatedly nurture influence the reality you gradually build. This is why protecting your inner world matters so much. The conversations you have with yourself, the images you repeat in your mind, and the emotions you feed daily are quietly shaping your future. If you constantly imagine struggle, life begins feeling heavy. If you consistently imagine growth and possibility, doors begin opening that fear once kept hidden from view. You must become intentional about what you allow yourself to do. 3. Upon. Do not let your imagination become a prison filled with anxiety and limitation. Let it become a vision of possibility. See yourself thriving. See yourself overcoming obstacles. Feel the relief of knowing things are improving. Feel the joy of becoming the person you desire to be. Because what you consistently imagine and feel does not stay within you. It slowly becomes the energy you carry, the choices you make, the opportunities you recognize, and eventually the reality you live. Assume that life is always working in your favor, even when you cannot yet see the full picture. This single assumption has the power to completely transform the way you experience the world. Most people live in constant resistance because they judge every situation too quickly. The moment something unexpected happens, they assume disaster. The moment a delay appears, they assume failure. The moment uncertainty enters their life, fear immediately begins creating stories about what could go wrong. In doing so, they unknowingly turn temporary moments into emotional suffering. But imagine approaching life differently. Imagine believing that every event, even the confusing ones, may secretly contain 3. Guidance, protection, growth, or redirection. Imagine trusting that not every closed door is punishment, and not every delay is denial. Sometimes life removes things that no longer belong in your future. Sometimes what appears to be rejection is actually protection from paths that would have drained your spirit later. Sometimes the very thing you are crying over today becomes the reason you smile tomorrow. The human mind craves certainty. It wants immediate answers and visible proof. When those answers do not arrive quickly, fear steps in and fills the silence with negative assumptions. But life is far larger than your current perspective. You are seeing only one small piece of a much bigger picture. There are connections, opportunities, and outcomes forming beyond your awareness every single day. Think about how often you misunderstood situations in the past. There were moments that felt like endings but later became beginnings. There were disappointments that eventually led you somewhere better. There were losses that forced you to grow into a stronger version of yourself. At the time, you could not see the purpose behind those experiences. You only saw confusion. But later, clarity arrived. This is why trust matters so deeply. Trust allows you to remain grounded even when the full picture is hidden. It prevents you from emotionally collapsing during temporary uncertainty. Instead of assuming life is against you, you begin assuming that unseen forces may be arranging things in ways your current mind cannot yet understand. When you adopt this mindset, challenges no longer carry the same emotional weight. You stop reacting to every obstacle as though it is permanent. You stop interpreting delays as personal failures. Instead, you begin asking different questions. Rather than saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "How might this eventually serve me?" That shift changes your emotional state completely. A person who assumes life is against them walks through the world defensively. They expect betrayal, disappointment, and hardship. Because of this expectation, they approach opportunities with hesitation and fear. They struggle to trust themselves, others, or the future. But a person who assumes life is working in their favor carries a different energy entirely. They move with greater peace. They recover from setbacks faster. They remain open to possibility even during difficult seasons. This does not mean pretending pain does not exist. Life will still contain moments of heartbreak, uncertainty, and challenge. But trust changes how you carry those experiences. Instead of allowing fear to convince you that everything is falling apart, you begin believing that life may still be leading you somewhere meaningful through the difficulty. There is enormous freedom in realizing that you do not need to control every detail of the future in order to feel safe. Many people exhaust themselves trying to predict every outcome, prepare for every possibility, and force every answer into existence immediately. But peace comes when you stop trying to dominate life through fear. Peace comes when you understand that some things must unfold gradually. Think about a puzzle spread across a table. If you stare at one single piece, it may seem meaningless. But when placed within the larger picture, its purpose becomes clear. Life often works the same way. Individual moments may not make sense while you are inside them. But over time, patterns emerge, connections appear, lessons reveal themselves. The pieces begin fitting together in ways you never expected. When you assume life is working in your favor, you stop feeding panic during uncertain moments. You stop turning temporary confusion into permanent despair. Instead, you create emotional space for solutions, opportunities, and unexpected blessings to enter your awareness. This mindset also changes the way you interact with people. Fearful individuals often cling too tightly because they assume loss is inevitable. They become anxious in relationships because they constantly expect abandonment. But trust creates emotional stability. It allows you to appreciate people without living in constant fear of losing them. It allows you to pursue goals without desperation controlling your spirit. The energy of trust is powerful because it opens the mind rather than closing it. Fear narrows perception. It focuses only on problems. Trust expands perception. It allows you to notice possibilities that panic would have hidden from you. Some opportunities arrive quietly, but anxious minds are too distracted to recognize them. You do not need to understand every step of your journey in order to believe that your life can still unfold beautifully. Some answers reveal themselves only with time. Some blessings arrive through unexpected paths. Some of the greatest moments of your life may currently be forming behind situations you do not yet understand. So stop assuming that every difficulty means failure. Stop believing that uncertainty automatically means something bad is coming. Instead, Choose a deeper trust. Choose to believe that life may be guiding you even when the road appears unclear. Choose to believe that delays can contain wisdom, endings can create beginnings, and confusion can eventually become clarity. Assume that life is working in your favor not because you already have all the answers, but because fear